But Dougie was in good form early. This is a brilliant goal. A Hawkins special, this one. Sets himself on the left-hand side and able to put it through. Brilliant goal. They were certainly in the game, Footscray, in the first half. But Dougie just saluting. But this goal by Jackson, this little touch, put Melbourne in front, and they were not headed after that. Some terrific highlights, particularly from Viney.
Halfway through the third quarter, it was anybody's game, but they had the personnel to throw around, which Northey did, and in the end they ran out easy winners.
Yeah, they did it well. And Peter McKenna, we can get carried away at the moment, but
It wasn't a bad game up until about halfway through that third quarter, when Footscray looked as if they were coming back, but unfortunately they made a couple of mistakes. First of all, the votes. I gave 3 votes to Jimmy Steins, who played another magnificent game in the ruck, and around the half-back line as a loose man in defence. Todd Viney, who's turned into one of the best ruck rovers playing the game at the moment, had about 32 possessions. And, well, I suppose another ruckman, which is a bit strange, I gave Scott Wine, the opposing ruckman, 1 vote. Don't say that, Peter.
Well, they played on each other.
Well, Scott Wine won the knockouts and did very well in defence for Footscray. Jimmy Steins didn't win the knockouts, but also played across the half-back line as a loose man in defence, took 13 marks, had over 30 possessions, and was the best man on the ground. But Scotty Wine, for what he did, was magnificent also.
You couldn't fit Liberatore and Coleman in there, Bernie?
Libba had plenty of possessions yesterday, but unfortunately he didn't have much influence on the game, and Coleman was well held by Garry Lyon in the first half, and really gave away a couple of silly free kicks and a 50-metre penalty that was, well, it could have been costly. Phoebe missed the goal, but he wants to just remember, forget arguing with the umpire and just get on with the game.
Well, Bernie, it's well spoken from a Brownlow medalist, but Jim Steins took 14 marks and Wine 10, and were they against each other?
No, well, the strange thing about it was that Steins was taking the ruck.
You don't do that today, Ron. You know that. You don't play on one another.
It's amazing. Ruckman, I found, you know, I played in the ruck a few times when I couldn't get a kick at full forward, and to go into the ball was a lot of times, right? Yeah. To go into the ball, it was a relief at times because you didn't have that pressure of the opposing ruckman. You know, they're very lazy people, the ruckmen, and they do not pick up their opponents. And they need to be told by the coach.
Or rovers or ruck rovers.
Or rovers or ruck rovers. That's why they get 30-odd possessions.
Jared, the ones that
look disgusting, but that's what happens.
Bernie, I wish Don Scott was here when you mentioned that about lazy ruckman.
Turned over Bernie, how do you rate Melbourne?
Melbourne, I'd say, are in the top 3 at the moment. Can
they take the extra step, Bernie? They've been promising
I thought they could a couple of weeks ago. They've got very good backup strength, I think, Bruce. You know, Bennett went off yesterday and they virtually didn't miss him. He kicked 2 goals in that first quarter. Incidentally, Gow did a good job at full-back. I think Footscray have found a full-back. He was very good at full-back. But they can switch their side around. Like Lyon started at centre-half-back, went to centre-half-forward. O'Dwyer was at centre-half-forward early. They've got White, who they can throw to centre-half-back. O'Dwyer down to full-forward. So they've got the personnel. They can just switch around and can find winners at various stages of the game when they need to.
Steve O'Dwyer and Cuthbertson, what was their performance?
Well, Cuthbertson was well held by Eccleston, who's in the state squad. He did a magnificent job on him. But they still have the ability, the Melbourne players, to pop up and kick a couple of goals, and Cuthbertson did this yesterday. Owen kicked 3 goals, but I thought he was beaten by Michael Ford, who played a good game.
OK, after the break, Geelong, North Melbourne with Ron Barassi. Dash there with 7 and Turley with 7, so the top 4, and then there's a number of players on 6 votes.
This is a true Rovers one coming up. You'll see it in a moment. O'Dwyer gets it out to little Ricky Jackson on the left foot from the boundary. He's happy. Look at that. Great goal.
And the player we were talking